Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us again on local public access airways. And we've got a show on Swanton in particular on the proposed new community recreation center, a big issue in Swanton. And happy to have on board today Earl Fournier, the Swanton Select Board Chairman. Betsy Fournier happens to be this guy's sister-in-law, Betsy, correct?
Yes.
Betsy, the chair of the Swanton Recreation Commission, and Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator. Thanks for your time. So, boy, Earl, we've talked about this issue a few times before. Getting to be a bit of a contentious issue, I guess.
Well, there's some concerns, but the Select Board has basically, we looked at different sites to start with. Yeah. Because we are spending a lot of money, and we wanted something that would stick out in Swanton and be, maybe a cornerstone in the future.
Yeah.
The reality is the present site has turned out to be the most feasible to get done and the most affordable to get done right now. There are issues on that site.
And when you say the site that you originally were looking at?
Yes, the present recreation fields.
Okay.
And that was a site that was proposed by the Rec Commission initially, but
then you did look at other sites.
We did end up looking at other sites, and that is going to be it is right now, because we don't have to buy the land. The infrastructure is close enough, so there's not going to be an exceptional cost to bring in water and sewer. It's already on site. The big disadvantages is it's, there's other stuff in the area, housing and et cetera, that, probably isn't the greatest fit for us. But if we plan for the future, that maybe some of this land could be purchased by the town and reused for some other suitable purpose in that area would coincide with what the Rec Committee and the Community Center would be. They'd be an addition to it. We'll have to plan on that for the future.
So the site's definitely nailed down? Because you've got a feasibility study that you're about to get.
Yes.
But the site's nailed down?
Yes, the site's nailed down. So we've decided that the feasibility study should be available here in another week. We've scheduled a public hearing on September 26th. 6:30 at the Swanton Village Complex.
Yep, Tuesday night, September 26th.
So we'd like to start presenting some of this information to the community. There's a lot involved here. One of the real concerns is make sure that we make this affordable. And we've got a lot of work to do in that area.
That's right. Betsy, you want to jump in?
Yes, Betsy, I'd like to turn it over to her because she's got a lot of the data of what's going on now.
And I guess I'm hearing that you and Earl aren't afraid to make your opinions known to each other either.
No, not at all. We don't have a problem with that at all. We feel quite comfortable about
Good for you.
Well, so people may think it was contentious here and there, but this is a very important thing for Swanton. Okay. And the discussion, or whatever you want to call it, that previously has taken place, has forced a lot of people to think about what's going on. And I believe we can come up with a real good plan for Swanton.
Yeah, no, hey, I agree. Good to have discussion, better than having no discussion and people all of a sudden being presented with something. Are you comfortable with the site? Is that your favorite site?
Yeah, so the site that we have finally chosen is behind it's in the lower parking lot of the Swanton Rec Department. And the reason why we really were adamant about this site is because our current fields and everything like recreation is right there on that site. And it has the infrastructure, like Earl said, is already there. So we don't have to pay extra money. It's free. We didn't have to pay extra for the site. It's also right along the Fit and Healthy path in Swanton that connects to the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. So that's another opportunity.
Great path. I'm on it not infrequently. Yep, it's a great path.
And I also want to say that I don't feel like this is an issue. I think it's an opportunity for our community. We've had some great conversations. We've gone through a lot of, ups and downs, but I think all in all, it was a great opportunity for all of us to learn a little more, and to gain some information that we maybe wouldn't have, put together without the select board and the rec board to get working together. We've always had a great relationship with our local municipality, and that has not changed. I really look forward to working with the select board through this process. They've been great through this process. I think the feasibility study is going to give us a lot of great information. We gave them a lot of numbers. They're going to talk about the demographics, the expenditures, the revenue, and how throughout the years, obviously you'll start with a loss, but then you'll, gain along the way. And
the numbers, participation in Swanton Recreation, Betsy, I assume that's gone up over the years?
So in 2019, we saw a huge increase in our patrons.
Wow.
And a lot of that had to do with COVID. So the school shut down, everybody shut down. The rec department made adjustments to their garage space to accommodate the needs of our community. So we opened up a learning classroom and an area for students to come during the day to do their learning and just have some downtime and, move around and enjoy the, fresh air. And so we started with that, and then it just kept growing and growing. Our programs kept growing. We had a tremendous amount of teens that would come by, which, in the last few years, our teens have really, didn't really come around too much, but we've noticed between the Swanton Public Library and the Swanton Recreation Department that we have a great teen following, and they, hundreds, we have teen nights and hundreds of teens show up. So, and then our summer programs flourished. We did programs during school breaks. All of our athletic programs have continued to grow. So people just want to be part of a community. And we just want to give them what they're asking for, but not just for our youth, but for our aging Vermonters and our teens, just to give people the opportunity to have a place where they can feel welcomed and, expand on a few things. Our community does do a great job with diverse opportunities. But I think our biggest concern right now is we're all kind of busting out at our seams, and we need just a little more room to meet the needs of our community.
I mean, obviously, people will have questions about whatever site costs, et cetera, but can I assume not too many people saying, no, your status quo is fine? Do you think there's a pretty much a general acknowledgement that you'd need another, more space, a bigger building?
I think if you talk to a lot of our partners, they're going to say yes.
Yeah.
Our community members have been great and supportive. There may be some naysayers, but I think I think that's a great opportunity for us to listen to the why. Yeah. And then kind of expand on that. It's, it doesn't, whether you're a yes or a no, we still want to hear from you, because we could answer your questions right like that, So we just want that opportunity. And I think on the 26th, if people have questions or concerns, it's an opportunity to really start that conversation.
Sounds like it. Brian, do you get the sense that there's an acknowledgement that Swanton needs to do more than it has now, or?
Yes, I from hearing it on the street and whatnot, certainly no one that I've spoken to has been against the proposal, and there is the acknowledgement that a better facility is needed.
Yeah. Obviously, obviously price and stuff comes into that. Will the location of the proposed new community center, rec center, will that wipe out some of the fields? Will you Will you lose any of your fields with that?
That's one of the concerns, you know, that the select board has. I mean, there's no potential, or very little potential, for any future expansion in that area as far as land is concerned.
There's not much potential?
No. There's some wetland issues there that might be able to get worked around a little bit and used for a field, but there's not going to be a lot of field expansion on that site.
Yeah.
You know, if any more fields are going to be required in the future, we're probably going to have to go off-site. But there was nothing close to the village area that would have been any better. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
No other place where we would have room for expansion, plus the building, and plus be, you know, sort of centrally located in the community. There is, you know, one of the concerns that I had myself personally is I'd like to see it stay within the village limits, just so we can attract more people into the village area. You know, I think that's important for smaller villages, you know, to have people coming in, you know, for other reasons, gives them a reason maybe to stop somewhere. For the smaller businesses, you know, to be successful, you need a certain amount of people going through the area in order for that to happen. So affordability is going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe we can make it affordable, but, you know, we've got a lot of work to do in that area.
There's, I think you talked before, is there a rough price tag for said new community center, rec center?
I think what we proposed to the select board was 3.6
$6 million.
3.6 mil?
Yeah. And we had, the select board had appointed $600,000 of the ARPA funds
Of ARPA
to
money,
support.
American Rescue Plan.
And then we have started building a grant list. So we don't want to cause burden to our taxpayers. And our Swanton Rec budget has stayed level funded for years.
I should note Nicole Draper is a Swanton Rec Director, also, of course, a select board member.
Yep, she's our executive director at the rec department.
Executive Director.
Yep, so we've had a level funded budget for years, so we do not want to burden our taxpayers, but if we want more, then yes, we might have to pay a little. But we're gonna do as much as we can to find outside source to support this building.
Brian, have you got, is there some, obviously some hope? I think you've got a shot at some decent outside funding sources?
There is certainly the potential, and you know, working with our congressional delegation, we probably can see what they may be able to offer. And I know there are programs. I've spoken to a staff member of Congressman Welch's office a few months ago, and she said that they have potential to be able to probably assist this sort of project because of the community/recreation aspect of it. So yeah, we will not leave any stone unturned.
Well, we've talked before, and I guess that you couldn't do it even if you wanted to move on it now. It probably wouldn't happen in time, but LOT, local option tax, that's still getting, I guess that's not really hooked into this, or could it be?
Well, you know what, I mean, I'm glad you kind of asked that question.
Of course, St. Albans City and St. Albans
One of the issues is last year, I mean, we thought we had a pretty sound budget, and we did. There wasn't a lot of extra in there. But we still ended up with an 8-cent increase in it.
You're just talking overall town budget now?
Overall town, between the general and the highway. And then you add on the 8-cent increase from the, 8.1, it was 8.9 in the town. So you're looking at 17 cents, so that's 170 every 100,000. A substantial jump for the town, but we had some issues in there. But it's getting harder and harder to keep the budget down because we're getting behind on our paving work, and we're going to have to make that up somehow, and that's because paving costs doubled 2 years ago.
Did you not get as much done this summer as you would have liked?
We haven't been for 2 years.
I'm sure.
So there's two issues here, I think, when it comes to the money on the recreation on this proposal. There's the cost of the building itself to build. Then there's the operation of the building. Now, what's encouraging right now is the preliminary numbers that we've seen from this feasibility study, that if this thing is managed right, it could be pretty much self-sufficient.
Really? No.
Of course, you know, that doesn't always turn out to be the case, and other towns around the state, and, you know, have had some problems in the past, but once they got them straightened out and got them properly managed, they've been fairly affordable to operate.
Yeah.
Now, we got to make it affordable to pay for the building.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue that is going to take a lot of work. And that's what we're talking about, these grants, and we may have to bring in some kind of partner to help us too.
And when you say some kind of partner?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's additional property around there that if it was purchased and turned into some kind of community use, say maybe possibly a daycare, that might make it easier to get funds for what we're doing. We don't know. We've got to investigate everything in order to really make this something that the community is going to get behind and can afford.
Yeah. So again, at this point, a rough price tag, you said 3.6 mil, you've got 600,000 in ARPA money. So at this point, you got about a $3 million to deal with, roughly. And you would obviously like to get that down as much as you can. Have you got some magical number you'd like to get that kind of local share down to? I'm sure zero, but you got
Earl might.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't really have a magical number because we're working. Hopefully we'll have some of this information available on 26
Right.
as far as bond costs and what, you know, imitation would be on. You know, we'll probably go $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million to get, you know, so we'll have some kind of rough idea. It won't be the exact thing because, but we got to get that worked out. And, you know, if we can get at least half of it from outside sources, I think that's going to bring it more closer in the ballpark. Now we got to consider too what the village is going to be proposing.
Yeah.
You know, and how much.
Yeah, they've got some big stuff too coming up.
Yeah. And, you know, what kind of effect this is going to have on, you know, what we're proposing. Because, I mean, there's a need. You know, I mean, you can, basically both projects are going to be needed at some point in time.
I guess one of the villages,
Yeah.
of course, new Swanton Village PD.
Yeah.
Don't exactly have a lot of room in the current Swanton Village PD.
So, you know, I mean, I don't want people to get the idea that we're competing.
Right.
Okay? Because we're trying to fill the needs, and this rec need is a big need. I mean, I never had a question that we needed to do something.
Yeah.
It's just what it was going to be, where it was going to be, and how can we afford it.
Yeah. And we've talked before again, March town meeting, is that what you're looking for? The next March town meeting, or is that going to maybe be pushing it?
I think it depends upon the grant process, and I'd be a little leery of trying to bring something before the voters.
Not too far away.
Yeah.
So that sounds like that may well be pushing it, huh?
Yeah.
So maybe November 2024, maybe more likely at this point?
It would be more realistic.
More realistic.
You know.
We want to make sure it's done correctly.
Yeah.
We don't want to push something on the voters
Yeah.
that they don't have all the information they need.
Yeah.
And that we didn't expand upon all opportunities to defer the cost to the taxpayers. And, you know, it's going to take time.
That does sound, as I think about it, that certainly does sound more likely.
Yeah.
So town meeting sounds like it'd be pretty tough. Maybe.
Pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of planning left to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Betsy, but I don't think we really have any permits in hand.
Well, and
they've just been looked at what needs to be done as far as wetland and all, you know, all the typical stuff you have to go through.
Is that an issue for the actual building site with the wetlands, or?
No, just permitting itself takes a good 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Stormwater runoff, you know, you got to have a permit for that. You know, it's just the way things are today, you know, so it has to be done. So that's going to take some time to get all that stuff in place, you know. And then the building itself, the art, you know, they have a sketch, but we don't have a design.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have an architectural design of how the building's going to look. Well, how I guess we got the outside, but what's going to be on the outside, how the inside's going to be, you know, and the final exact location isn't totally identified. but it's going to be on that site, and it's going to be in the parking lot.
Yeah, we
So
had to
if you-
move the building a little.
So the feasibility study, Betsy, what kind of info? What, are you going to get a lot of info out of the feasibility study?
Well, we just received it today,
Oh.
so none of us have really had the opportunity to really look into it.
I should know, we're taping this show on Thursday, September 14th also.
So
Yeah,
we
so you just got
haven't
it.
seen, I mean, I personally haven't seen any of it yet. I left work to come here, so I haven't had the opportunity to look at it.
Well, Brian, you probably got a pretty good idea of what's, I mean, it's revenue.
It's revenue. I haven't had really a chance to get into it that much.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a 5-year, and it starts out with the facility showing a loss for the first couple of years, and then eventually breaking even and actually showing a slight surplus. So that's encouraging, certainly, and other facilities in the area of similar nature. We've checked the town reports and whatnot, and they appear to be showing a surplus at the end of a small surplus. They're not making it huge by any stretch of the imagination, but they're beyond the point of breaking even. I mean, they're doing okay. They're doing well. And that's what these numbers indicate. So I think it looks somewhat encouraging. So.
And that would seem to be, and maybe an obvious big selling point, if you can convince people that it should be self-sufficient after a few years, and that it's not going to be a big drain year to year, an additional drain on the budget or something. What year bond, how long a bond issue are we talking?
Well, we're thinking 30 years. Whether we'll actually go to the bond market or borrow it locally from a bank, we can do it that way. But we're generally looking at a 30-year. I think would make it a little bit more feasible for the taxpayer, even though in the long run we'd be paying more.
Sure.
But it's the
That's why it becomes important to bring in as much money as we can.
Sure.
Because the lower the amount we need to borrow, and we might even be able to do it for a shorter term. You know, because I'm sure there's going to be things in the future too that are going to come into play here.
Did you say this would be Swanton's first bond issue?
First, for the town, as far as I know, has never bonded on its own before.
Really interesting.
Schools,
Right, but for the town municipal side.
unless if something was done
first
way back.
Really interesting.
You know, the village has bonded over the years
Oh, a lot,
because of
sorry.
the municipal services,
Sorry.
but the town doesn't do municipal services,
Right,
so.
right. So maybe that's not that surprising, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the feasibility study, again, this is a big meeting. Again, you'd like to see a bunch of people. And again, we should note, as you said off the air, again, folks can come Tuesday, September 26th, 6:30 at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex. And again, it won't be Zoom, but it'll be teamed. Brian, you want
yeah.
to talk about that?
Yeah,
It means so much to me. I'm kidding.
when we have our meetings at the town offices, we're set up there with Zoom, and in the warning it'll say the link to go to the Zoom so
Yeah.
that somebody at home can get in. The village offices are set up with Microsoft Teams. It's a very similar platform, but it will be, and the instructions will be in the warning for the meeting on how to sign on to Teams. It works pretty much the same way, but it will be, so if they're using the old link for Zoom, I'm going to use what that link is for Teams. We've had meetings there before and have used Teams, and it worked okay.
And again, this is a public meeting, public hearing,
Yeah.
whatever.
Just want to ask a question, Brian. So you don't need to put a special app on your computer to get to this team meeting?
No.
You just got to put the right address or whatever they
You
call
put in
it.
the right address and it'll pop up and say, it may ask you if you want to download Teams, which you could say yes, but even if you didn't, it still should open up on that.
So you'd expect, you're hoping for a good crowd. You'd expect a bunch of people at this meeting, I assume. It's been a big issue already.
Yeah, so,
Opportunity.
yes.
Opportunity.
Yes, we'd like to see people there because, you know, it's not 100% finalized, you know, what it's actually going to, where it's going to be. And people may have some suggestions of what might make this better, too. So we're open.
I mean, are you even talking site? Would you be open to another site?
No, not site-wise, but I'm talking where the building might be located, what the future of that area, what we should be planning on. I mean, there's property there that might come up for sale in the future that we probably ought to be involved in, you know, so that area is a community area.
Yeah.
You know,
And our fields are, we don't have enough field space either.
Really?
So our baseball and softball fields, we use those summer, spring and summer, and then come fall, we have fall ball, and then we have to turn those fields, all of our softball and baseball fields, into soccer fields.
Wow.
And then we have a few soccer fields in the back, down below in the parking lot. We have a large soccer field down there that we use for football, as well as field hockey and soccer. So we, and it's unfortunate that our little itty bitty T-ballers, they don't have their own field.
Really?
So we would love to create some more fields for the little bitties, so they have their own fields.
But have you got any potential to do that, or?
We do have some. We do have 4th Street property, which is just down the road from the rec department, that we could utilize, but it's currently going through a brownfield study. So once that is ready to go, we can start building upon that. And I know that Earl had asked for, you know, a drawing or something for the meeting on the 26th to show the community what's going to happen there, because it's been, you know, I think the select board voted on this, a couple years ago or a year ago, that the rec department would have use of this property, and it's just sat stagnant for years. So people are asking a lot of questions like, why aren't you doing anything with it?
And I'm sure there's been some frustration, obviously, as you said, with the time frame and stuff. Why,
Right.
you know, why,
Right.
you know.
So, I mean, I just think giving them an idea of what we're going to do with it, and is, you know, it's appropriate.
it is an ideal area to expand field space for the recreation.
Yeah.
It's not that far away. You can access it from the same rail trail, Dick Thompson Trail.
Yeah.
You know, and it's right next to the school too. There might be some uses there too in the future, but it's going to have to be utilized. There's no question about that.
When you say football, of course, MVU, you know, it's kind of tough. They've had their football program, not real successful so far, but tough to start out. But is there a feeder program now? Is that
So
which
this
I'm
is
sure
our
MVU
second.
would kill for, I assume.
Well, this is our second year with football, so we wanted to start a feeder program, and actually the MVU football coaches come down and
great.
help out. So I think it's important football has been at MVU for,
It's been I would have said, what, five years or
6
so?
years, and
Longer.
you know, they self-sustain themselves. You
Yeah.
know, they have to fundraise. They do a lot of things, and they're a great group of young men. You know,
right.
and I think what they value most is that they have to raise all the money for all of their equipment and uniforms.
Because I know it came up years ago for the budget and an extra, you know, request for some money that was defeated maybe every time it came up or something. So
I mean, it's highly attended program. So
Yeah.
we have a tackle and a touch. You know, introduction to tackle, because we just want to make sure the kids have the fundamentals to go along with it. And also, there's no feeder program for MVU except for the Steelers in St. Albans.
Right.
So it gives our community also the opportunity to have it right there in their town.
Yeah.
And the local coaches are coming down to teach the kids the fundamentals. So it's really nice to have that opportunity. And field hockey, the same thing.
really,
We're a great feeder program for field hockey.
Huh.
Same coaches will come in and support our programs from MVU. So,
wow, interesting. Do you get some with Swanton Recreation, or some of these kids coming in from out of town? Are there some Highgate kids, Alberg kids, or?
Highgate and Franklin have their own programs, but if they don't offer the program, then they come to Swanton.
Okay.
I I think maybe Franklin does offer field hockey just starting, but we do have a lot of kids that come from Franklin and Highgate for programs that they don't offer. We like them to stay in their own community, but if there's not room for them or if the program's not available, then they can come to Swanton. And also Elberg, and some island kids come also, Sheldon. So we do open it up. So that's the other thing. Having this facility is not only going to support Swanton, but it's going to support our surrounding towns. And we don't want to build something that somebody else already has. We want to expand.
You're probably not thinking about another pool, like a swimming pool like St. Albans. I think you can probably.
No, but one thing
sounds like St. Albans has done very, very well with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think.
Well, one of the things that will be at this facility is being proposed is a gymnasium.
Oh, is that right? The gym?
Yeah.
Anybody talking tennis courts, or I suppose I should say pickleball courts, or just room?
Pickleball's hot, and actually
hot.
At Marble Mill in Swanton, they have a huge pickleball group.
Okay.
And they all summer long. They're always calling up the village or the rec department. When are you going to put the nets up? So pickleball is huge following.
Yeah.
And so this is a 10,000 square foot facility that we're proposing.
10,000 square foot?
Yes. And we are going to have we're calling it a gym flex space because we want to make sure that we can utilize it not just for sports, but also for like fitness opportunities, activities. But yeah, gym space is huge in Swanton, lacking of. So we don't have a lot of indoor space that we can use for athletics or events that are big enough. We do use the schools.
I was going to say, is MVU pretty good about allowing their gym to be used?
Well, they have a lot of programs
they obviously
too.
Have their own.
So we do use MVU gym for our basketball program one Saturday. So during Saturdays, I think it's from January to late February. So we have a block of 2 hours to use at MVU. And then the Babcock and the Swanton Central School, we use their gymnasiums, but we're only allowed a certain amount of hours to use because they have their own programming for their 5th and 6th grade kids. So, and then we have, of course, AAU programs and mini metro programs that want a gym time too. So we don't have enough room in our community for these programs. And a lot of what we're seeing is people are leaving Franklin County to go somewhere else. And
really?
Yeah.
Just again on recreation, just not getting enough what they want for recreation?
Well, for the elite programs like baseball, all year long baseball, basketball is played all year long, soccer is played all year long. So those are opportunities of revenue for us. And we're going to really expand on that. And once we decide that we have a building and we know the day it's going to be open, we're going to be signing those contracts with these people that are banging on our doors to utilize our space.
I assume hockey skating programs, Betsy, you have some of that at the Highgate Arena?
We do have a skating rink that we do put up for our community every year, and it's utilized quite a bit. And when we don't have it, they're asking where it is.
Is it on Village Green or elsewhere?
No, it's on the rec. It's at the rec fields. We did do it on the Village Green, and it was, people loved it there, especially the senior housing. They love to watch people skate, but we couldn't maintain it the way we can at our own facility.
And you do that every winter? Has that been an annual thing?
Yeah, we do it every winter.
Wow.
If the weather permits. Boy, last year was a tough one.
Yeah, I grew up pond skating in Massachusetts,
But yeah, no, we do have skating programs. We'll open it up. We do use the Highgate Arena for indoor field hockey on the off seasons, as well as soccer. No, not soccer. I'm sorry. Baseball and softball. When the fields are still not usable, we can go inside there.
Yeah. Interesting. Brian, recreation it just seems like it's in the news more. Is it just getting a lot more attention? Are there more interest, you think, in recreation? You've had a number of hats over the years. Is that just kind of a bigger thing as being a part of a community and what a community has going for it?
Well, I think a lot of it is that people are trying to become more health conscious.
Yeah, sure, that's part of it.
Be it year-round, and there's a lot of winter activities, of course, but Vermont winters sometimes don't always agree with people, so they're looking to do something inside for an activity.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of the increase in the popularity of a lot of recreational programs.
Yeah. So again, big hearing coming up September 26th. Next steps after that, you'll be interested obviously in what folks have to say. Next steps after that, or?
Well, we're going to go forward first to look for money.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big step.
Yeah.
And then, we'll have to start looking at a design at some point in time, but, that's, and find out about bond costs. We've got to find out about bond costs.
Yeah.
And maybe take a look at the area in general. We've already had some discussions with Shelburne Limestone. Great neighbors.
They are literally neighbors.
Yeah.
They are.
Great, and they understand, that certain things are going to have to be done for us to coexist. They have no problem with that.
Has that worked out? Has that been an okay coexistence? It wouldn't seem to be the easiest coexistence, but that works.
That's the answer to that.
Does that work pretty well?
With the Swanton line?
Just with, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they donated, I think, 12 acres to us.
Really?
Well, it was a long time ago.
Have they got any more land?
No, they have no more land, and they are great. They let us go over there and take lime for our fields.
Really?
They, will sweep our driveways and add stone. They're great neighbors.
Has that quarry got a lot of life to it? Are we talking a lot?
Well,
more
we
life?
had the discussions with them, and it has a potential for a long life.
Really?
If there's another product or stone they have there that they're checking to see exactly what the value is going to be, and they're testing it for phosphorus tie-up. So if the work they're having done on this pans out, it's probably going to be a viable product for them, and that's going to extend the life of the quarry considerably. They're talking 200-300 years, maybe.
Really? Makes me think of Swan, the brick factory there just down the road.
Yeah.
And I remember when that started, it just sounded like they had just what they needed for good bricks, and they just kind of ran out of what they needed there. Brian, is that?
I can't recall exactly what the problem was there.
They had it going for a while.
They did have it going for a while, and then I don't know if it was. I wasn't really that active in the local politics at that point, but they were. The next thing we know, they were shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
So the quarry may have a lot
Yes, and the present setup where the scales are, of course, is on Jewett Street, and it does create truck traffic, and of course Pike Industries is down there too, and Pike Industries have no intention of moving unless the quarry shuts down, because the stone is right there.
Right.
So that's one of the things that when we've had this discussion, Blake Street is going to be the entrance for and not Jewett Street is used now. Long term, I think this is the best for everybody, Shelburne Limestone and us. And hopefully we can do some improvements in that area to make that entrance, an ideal entrance. And that way, because Jewett Street's a narrow street, you got the truck traffic going on there. Even if you put a sidewalk, because there's no sidewalk there now, you're making things pretty tight.
Yeah.
So that's one of the changes from the original proposal, and we don't know exactly how that's going to sketch out on there yet either, because that has to be done. But long term, that's going to be a much better entrance in Jewett Street.
Yeah.
Because Shelburne Limestone, they might be able to maneuver their loading, but then again, all this cross traffic going back and forth, and they've got some other areas that they're going to be pulling stone out of it, and that's going to, you know, it makes it very difficult for them to move their scales.
Is there truck traffic? Is there truck traffic weekends also? Is it seven days a week?
Yeah. I think it's just going to be safer for all of our patrons as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if the facility
To have the access on Blake and not to it.
Yeah. And, you know, we're probably going to have to do some screening work between, you know, our rec field, our rec area, and Shelburne Limestone. But I don't see any problem with them working with us and helping and probably even putting some money into the project to get that kind of stuff done, because they benefit from it too, and they understand that. We had some discussions with Champlain Housing too about maybe something to do with daycare. You know, if we could acquire some other property in that area. Instead, so we, you know, there's a lot of things going on now. This isn't all going to happen at once. The main thing is, and I know Betsy's going to be glad to hear this, is we're going to get the rec facility going because the need is there. And if we can make it affordable and get it up, then we'll start going into these other areas, these other issues, start getting them addressed, you know, as time goes by, and it'll be more affordable. I think in the end, it's probably going to cost as much as if we built somewhere else, but we won't have to come up with so much money up front. You know, we can build this up over time, which is going to make it a lot more affordable.
And one of the things that did come out of the conversation that we've been having for the last few months is working on a master plan for parks and recreation.
And
so
there's no master plan right now.
Not for parks and recreation. So you think recreation is Swanton Rec, but it's not. We have Marble Mill, we have the Village Green, we have the Veterans Memorial Park, we have the Swanton Beach. And the Missisquoi, I mean, so on and so on. So there's a lot of outdoor recreation opportunities in Swanton that need, you know, to be part of a bigger picture.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you're getting Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. I heard, I guess, another section of that open from, what, Cambridge to Wolcott, I think?
Yes,
They
that's
still
right.
have that section, I guess, from there to Danville. Sounds like that'll take a while, but at least a good hunk of it's open, and I can go from Swanton to Wolcott now.
Yeah.
Are you noticing some traffic there? Are you, with Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, are you seeing some folk, you know, number of people using
We're
that?
seeing people on the trail.
Yeah.
You know, our trailhead,
Of course, that brings the trailhead issue to mind. Of course.
is going forward.
Yeah.
Everything looks like it'll be done next year.
Wow. Nothing this year, I assume.
Nothing. We're getting all the permits in place. We just have an archaeological survey done, which Brian, it turned out right.
It was done a couple of weeks ago by UVM, and they found no findings. So
Is that something, just with kind of Abenaki culture and stuff, is that something that would have to be done anywhere in Vermont, Brian, or is that hooked into just this area
I
more?
think the proximity to the river.
Federal money.
It's
I
federal.
don't care where
And
you
it's
are.
federal money.
That's
and it's federal money.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
But that came out, that didn't turn up anything, if not.
No, and it took them about 3 days
Really?
to do it. So
So next year, you'll definitely move ahead on that? And that's mostly outside money? You're okay
Yes.
money-wise on that?
Yeah.
Majority of the money, 80% of the funding is coming from the state grants that they had specifically for Lamoille Valley Rail Trail.
Yeah.
And the other 20% we allocated out of the ARPA funds. So we didn't put anything in, to be raised by taxes.
Yeah.
We don't expect the operation or maintenance stuff to be a very big expense. We already do some other yards, like the library yard, so we'll plow in the winter. And, we're going with porta toilets for now, just to keep things in line and to see what happens in the future and the growth. If there's growth in the future in that area, then maybe we'll spend more money.
Hopefully, we'll get the governor up next year. Of course,
Yes,
it was just a couple of days from having the big celebration
right,
when the flood showed up.
Yeah, it's a big disappointment.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're making some progress.
Yeah.
But no, it sounds like a huge thing for the state.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about getting all the repairs done by next summer, and I trust
Yeah.
that'll happen.
Yeah.
Again, community rec center, you've touched on this, Betsy, but I know you want to make the point, it's beyond recreation, but again, community meetings, you see this as having the community center being just that, beyond just recreation, right?
Absolutely. So also in the actual building, there's going to be a kitchen
Huh.
and community rooms. So other community members can utilize those spaces. The aging Vermonters, child daycares can come in and utilize it, maybe play groups or tumble times. And learning kitchen, we do a lot of learning opportunities with our teens, whether it's to show them how to use power tools or, change a tire on a bicycle or do laundry. It's just it's a good opportunity to have that for our community, just to, teach them some skills to succeed in life.
And at this point, you just don't, there's just not much there. No space like that. It's just...
No, and I don't know if you've ever been to our rec department, but it's a very tiny little space.
I've been outside. I guess I haven't been inside. My kid played soccer there a long time ago.
There's a little concession stand, and then we use it as our boardroom in our offices, and then there's the garage where we have to use for indoor space with weather and activities.
Not a lot of space.
No, and then we have a few sheds in the rear. Area for overflow, like our kayaks and our snowshoes, paddle boards, because we have a lending program for free.
Wow.
And our community gardens are down there, and our basketball court. So depending on where we put this building will depend on if, we have to rearrange a few things, or maybe some of those things go to 4th Street to make room for our community space.
You'll keep your current building such as it is? You'll keep that and make some use out of that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, our maintenance needs that building. We have taken over so much of their space as it is. But they're on board, so.
So again, the rec programs have expanded. Just over the years, we're talking just a lot more participation and more programs and stuff.
Yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of participation in our athletic programs increase. Team sporting, people I think they just love being part of a team and just having something to do. And then a lot of cooking groups. We've done a lot of variety of cooking groups with the youth and the aging Vermonters, our teens. We have, what am I trying to say?
Well, I'll just...
sounds like a lot of activity.
There's a lot, like wellness programs.
Yes, this is one of the things that I've heard from the other people involved in recreation, or just involved in Swanton in general, in what's going on. What's going to provide an opportunity for more adult programs. The space for that is extremely limited now. We're using the library for a couple of programs, but that space could be used for something else but a library too. So that could be a big plus. And a selling point. Yes. Besides the recreational activities for our kids, and our kids need something to do. Idle time. And, maybe they can expand the programs, and they do right now. They probably go into other programs in that if we had a decent facility, like could teach these kids, maybe they'll do like Betsy has just alluded to, maybe they'll learn how to run a wrench or use a jack, or, there could be some of these things going on in there, too, programs. I think it'll be used quite a bit. And once it's there and gets going, I don't see it being underutilized. And if it's managed properly, I believe it'll self-sustain itself.
Brian, you certainly know a number of your counterparts around this area, around the state. Will you check with other towns? I can only assume other towns have gotten into a situation like this where they were expanding recreational programs or facilities. Maybe some helpful info from other towns out there?
Sure, there's been quite a number of them. I mean, towns larger than ours, smaller than ours.
Yeah.
There's been some tips, but they just said, feel free, don't be skittish about charging for the use of the facility, but just keep your charges in line, and you just work toward breaking even. And and they thought that the people, it'll be very popular. It may take a little while for people to get used to it being there and whatnot, but that comes in a marketing effort that I'm sure that the rec people will take care of. So yeah, it's be an exciting time.
The charges now, or for most of these programs, is there a charge typically for these programs, Betsy? Or?
So our team sports, yes, they have charges because we have the overhead for uniforms.
Yeah.
We have all our coaches are volunteers.
Really?
Which is wonderful. We couldn't run our programs without our volunteers. And then a lot of our summer programs we do charge, but very low cost programs. And then we do receive a lot of grant funding. Like our director and our athletic program director do look for a lot of grant funding. So and then if our community partners have money, then we kind of share our space and share our tools to offer to the community. So I think the Arts Council had some money, so we used some of their programming money to do programs. Same with the Abernathy. So a lot of the programs we don't have to charge for, like the cooking groups. Our adult fitness, we have Zumba currently, that's like $5. So low cost. So we do charge for some of our programming. We used to have adult volleyball and basketball at the school.
Oh, really?
But we charge like $1 for them to show up. And but we haven't been able to do that in a few years. Once COVID hit, it kind of went.
Kind of knocked that out.
And they just don't have the space for us to get back in there right now.
Yeah.
Or probably ever.
So again, we're talking a gymnasium as part of the building?
A flex sport, yep.
Interesting.
Yep. And we're hoping, like you said, pickleball, basketball, adult programs. We want to give the adults the opportunity to come out after, they put the kids to bed. Or we're hoping we can stay open until, I think we said 8 to 9, 8 in the morning till 9 in the evening. So that way you have that extra time for the adults to come out and use the facility.
Yeah. Boy, so big, still have about 7-8 minutes jump into any issue that we haven't talked about.
Well, I
so
just
it
want
sounds like
this is going to be a big change.
Yeah.
We're going to have to learn how to run this.
Yeah.
For sure. And there may have to be some change in how the relationship between the select board and recreation. I mean, maybe this recreation director might have to report directly to the select board because we're going to be talking a lot more money.
And does that not happen now? Of course, Nicole's on the select, but she doesn't.
We generally, the recreation commission comes before us with their budget, and it's always been a very reasonable for what they do.
Is Nicole, is she the only paid person there?
No, we have a full-time athletic director.
No, full-time AD too.
Yep. We do. He's year-round. Okay. And then we have part-time staff in the summer. And, so they're the only 2 full-time year-round. Wow. So winter months, we only have 2 full-time staff. And then sometimes for we do have vacation camps or after-school programs. We'll pull in like a youth. Sometimes they just want to volunteer. Yeah. They just love to be there.
Really? Boy, but just again, you got you see it as just kind of just a selling project over time. I mean, just trying to convince the community that this is a big plus for the community, as you obviously try to get the finances in shape and in better shape.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to run it like a marketing campaign. We don't want to leave any everybody out on any information that we have.
Yeah.
So we want to really push it out, and I really want people to have that opportunity to have their voices heard.
Yeah.
No or yes, it's just an opportunity to have a conversation, and if we don't know, we can't fix it or we can't answer your question. So I do encourage all of our community members to come out and have those conversations.
Again, the big question so far have been, especially about site, obviously cost will always be in there, but has kind of site been one of the big early issues here that...
Only for Earl.
Only for Earl.
Well,
So you've been
Well, our
current
board of
site
directors
yourself.
our board decided that's where we wanted it.
Yeah.
And then we did kind of stuck the building in different spaces on our rec facility just to see where it would fit best, and that was the best fit. But we took the time and did a study, we went around to different locations, and just to see, we put something in the paper and said, hey, anybody have any locations? We had 5, I think, or 6. We reviewed them. We had like a pros and cons, like does it have this, this, and this? And Swanton Rec was the only one that really had all of those dots.
Earl, you're comfortable with that now? Are you pretty much convinced this is the way to go? Or?
well, yes, I'm comfortable that it's probably going to be the best place to do it, but it needs a lot more work besides just that building in that area to make it something that we'd like to see, or that the community would be really proud of. So we got a plan, and planning wasn't done in the past. And otherwise, we would have really had a real nice site.
When did the planning? How long have you been moving on this to some extent?
Well, the conversation has been going since 2015.
2015.
Yeah. So we've had those conversations, and the community has constantly said we need more space. We need a community space.
But what I'm talking about is there's property on there that if knowing that this was going to happen in the future, I don't even care, 10, 15 years ago, people must have had some kind of idea that something was going to happen. And that property's gone now.
So there could have been more property in the past.
It could have been one hell of a site.
We did have opportunities to purchase property, and it fell through. But I think it's just a matter of it's time, and I think now everybody's on board.
It's time to do it. We need a facility. The voters are going to have the final say. Everybody needs to realize that. And it may go, it may not go. We may have to change plans if they don't want to back what we're proposing. But we got to, in the future, we need to be planning right. We don't want to be in the situation we are now. That area can be, I can see it can have a lot of potential, but we've got work to do. Besides just putting a building up there. I'm afraid if we just put the building up there and not plan on improving that area in the future, that building will never be what we want it to be.
Brian, does it sound like a pretty reasonable game plan to your eyes?
Yeah, it does. I think I had heard concerns from residents and voters that they weren't happy with the site because they thought it was kind of out of sight and nobody was going to see it. They wanted it to be a little bit more visible. But being on the committee that toured all the the different sites and talked with it, still in the end that was the better site to locate it. Because it's right near all the utilities, and we already own the property. Well, the village technically owns the property, but that's okay. But yeah, I think this would be the route to go at this point. And so I quite comfortable certainly with it, and I think it's time to move forward and get things started.
And again, public meeting sounds like a big meeting. Hopefully you got a good turnout. Again, Tuesday, September 26th at 6:30 at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex. So hoping for a good turnout there. About a minute left. I'll give you 30 seconds, and I'll give Betsy the last 30, Earl.
Well,
But again, it sounds like this is moving. Again, big opportunity, big issues, but it
Okay.
sounds like there's forward movement on this thing.
yes, we're gonna get a proposal together. We're gonna get numbers together. We're gonna look for outside money, and we're gonna bring the issue before the voters.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I want to add real quick is the town's new website, or Swan's new website, because the village is included. If people got concerns or or ideas, we really want to hear them. We really do. We want to make this thing work better. We just getting it started this year, and we know it needs some improvements, but we want to hear from people. Don't be afraid.
Betsy, I'm going to cost you a few seconds, but again, some
That's
forward
fine.
movement,
That's
but you want to
fine.
hear what the public has to say.
No, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to talk about the Swanton Rec Department and the community. And we're looking forward to seeing you all on the 26th. And bring your voices, bring your ideas, and see you there.
Very good, and I suspect we'll be meeting with you folks in the future, maybe many times, but good luck with it. Sounds like there's some forward movement here. Earl Fournier, the Swanton Select Board Chairman, Betsy Fournier, the Swanton Recreation Commission Chair, Brian Savage, the Swanton Town Administrator. Thanks for your time, good luck. Thanks to producer Alan. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time here on Northwest Access TV. See ya.